Welcome back into the garden here at Gardener's Cottage in Blakeney on the North Norfolk Coast. 2nd of May, and we've got some nice weather at long last, and the garden's starting to reward us with some really nice pepperings of flower. Just look at this honesty, already setting seed. Incredible how quickly these form after the flowers have been pollinated. It's sitting nicely against the south face of the cottage here, just under our rosemary bush that's been quite hard pruned back last year, but that's flowered beautifully earlier in the season, as you can see. This Montana alba on the west facing wall that comes off the cottage forms the boundary of the garden. It's looking very well this year. Profuse large flowers on it. It's done very well since the prunus above it's been cut out, allowing more light into this area. And on the base underneath it was usually parched, dry and in full shade. Again, we've got a lovely profusion this year of more honesty, making the most of that extra light with the perennial wallflower that's tumbled down from the wall above. There's Mum, I think, and the seeds all the way down here, and flowering very beautifully. Wasn't planned, but just happened. All the daff's just about finished now that we planted at the end of last season, but the lilac's still doing really well in this garden. And just look at that for a head of lilac flower. Hardly any leaf behind it on the stems, but plenty of bud to come out. And the scent, I wish you could experience that with me here. Absolutely gorgeous. Makes a really good cut flower, but a shame to take it away from this beautiful display here. Just going to leave it as it trickle flowers over the next couple of weeks. Comfrey is always a good and reliable flowerer for us at this time of year. It seeds profusely, takes a lot of drought later in the season, and can be cut hard back. Will come back as a second flush if you give it effectively a Chelsea chop when it starts looking a bit ragged. But at this time of year, this white variety has really got a good long flowering period. You can see how it flowers, starting close to where this flower bud has broken, and then ends up with the terminal branches of the flower stem just flowering. Really nice little clean flower, and then those petals drop and are replaced by new flowers until it finishes around the middle of May. Solomon seals loved this quiet, damp and shady corner on the back of what is the Methodist chapel here on the High Street at Blakeney. It loves these conditions. It does tend to get picked over by, I don't know whether it's a beetle or a caterpillar, but in previous seasons it's not looked nearly as well as this. This year it's really performing beautifully. Lovely lime green, clean foliage on it. And that lime green's picked up by the foliage in this euphorbia. Not a particularly florid variety this. We've got one at the main farm that's massive, bright lime green bracts. But it holds its own here in the base of this wall again, and colour just complements the Solomon seal, particularly against the darkness that we get on the back of this hawthorn hedge with the bank behind it. Stems there of the upright cherry can just about finish flowering. We tend to leave this bank semi-wild for the wildlife at this time of year. It's a really difficult area to garden because we've got the roots of the hedge on the bank at the back, the tree roots, and it's in deep shade for most of the year and very, very dry. So only a few things will hold their own in here, and spring bulbs is one of them. Trying to introduce some more bluebell onto this bank, which we hope will give us just that little drift of colour in amongst the green backdrop. This choice here really is a splendid flowering shrub at this time of year, with the lime green leaf and then the white multi-headed flowers, again with a strong perfume, really filling this area with a lovely scent. But after this is finished flowering, we are going to give it a really good haircut. And by haircut I mean down to around 2 to 3 feet. It will regrow again and flower on the new growth that it will form throughout the season. So we get our path back, and next year won't be as big, but hopefully just as bright. This perennial osteosperm's been growing here probably for around 15 to 20 years. It's gradually spreading out and tends to do that. So where you originally planted it 20 years ago is now bare earth and being colonised by other cottage garden plants, and we have to every so often keep cutting this back. but by pulling it up rather than cutting it off, you tend to get rooted cuttings which can be moved around the garden and extended. It's a really good value plant. Flowers beautifully here, only opens on sunny days, the rest of the time it's closed up. These ones down here, I mean, these are early flowers, they haven't got to flowering stage yet, but it closes up completely when this sunshine finishes. Really looking well here in the morning sunshine. Got some lavender coming on at the back, and the upright leaf here is Agapanthus, which we've naturalised into this gravel, and they're doing far better in the natural gravel than they are in the pot. So that one's looking very well. This one's looking a bit nutrient depleted and stressed. Not really liking it nearly as much. I think gradually what we're planning to do is to extend these out into the gravel as fill-in plants. They flower very, very well here, but later in the summer, June, July. This little Banks lutea alba has had a bit of a rough time this season. We planted it far too forward, and with the work we've done over the spring to remove, cut back, not remove really, we've just hacked it right back. We've exposed a massive area of what was previous flower garden, and the Banks lutea was planted in the middle of this. It really needs cutting hard back after it's finished flowering, and we're probably going to move that back against the fence so that it comes up and runs more successfully through this flowering plum behind us. But the real star performer this week is definitely the Banks lutea. Little clusters of buttercup yellow flowers, multi-headed, and not a strong scent, but nonetheless just the profusion and mass of the colours and flowers this one produces on this western aspect is absolutely wonderful. Runs right along the front of the cottage. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this weekly update on what's doing well here at Gardeners. It's a little microclimate, this garden, with the walls at Blakeney. It tends to be sheltered from the wind, and it's usually about a week to a fortnight ahead of our main garden over in mid-Norfolk. So do join me next week. I'll see how it's coming on and what's doing well here at Gardener's Cottage in Blakeney. Thanks for watching.